The Galactic Council made their decision on a cold Tuesday morning. Humanity had been a member species for barely 50 years when the vote came down. 12 alien races against one. The humans were too aggressive, too unpredictable, too dangerous to remain in civilized space. Admiral Kane stood before the massive assembly hall, watching as the vote tallies appeared on the holographic display. Red numbers climbing higher and higher. His weathered face showed no emotion, but his hands clenched, into fists behind his back. "The motion passes," announced Speaker Vex, his blue-scaled head gleaming under the chamber lights. "Humanity is hereby expelled from the Galactic Council. All human colonies beyond the Sol system must be evacuated within 1 standard year." The other delegates murmured their approval. The tall, elegant Altari nodded with satisfaction. The insectoid hive representatives clicked their mandibles in agreement. Even the usually neutral tree folk swayed their branches in consent. Kane stepped forward to the speaking platform. "This is a mistake," he said, his voice carrying across the silent chamber. "Humanity has contributed much to this alliance. Our technology, our resources, our soldiers who died defending Council worlds. Your soldiers who started 3 wars in 5 decades, countered Ambassador Rix of the Altari. Your species cannot control its violent nature. You are a threat to galactic peace." "We defended ourselves when attacked," Kane replied. "We protected smaller species from raiders and pirates. Enough," Speaker Vex interrupted. "The decision is final. You have 1 year." The walk back to his shuttle felt like a funeral march. Kane's aide, Captain Ross, walked beside him in silence. They both knew what this meant. Earth's colonies, spread across 27 star systems, hundreds of millions of humans living on distant worlds. All of it would have to be abandoned. "Sir," Ross finally spoke as they reached their ship. "What do we tell the colonies?" Kane looked out at the massive space station where the Council met. Ships from dozens of worlds docked at its ports. Trade vessels, diplomatic cruisers, military escorts. Soon no human ship would be welcome here. "We tell them the truth," Kane said, "and then we make plans." The journey back to Earth took 3 weeks. Kane spent most of it in his private quarters, staring at star charts and colony reports. The numbers were staggering. Terra Nova, humanity's first colony world, housed 12 million people. The mining stations in the Kepler system employed another 5 million. The agricultural worlds fed half the outer rim territories. All of it would be lost. But as Kane studied the maps, an idea began to form. The galaxy was vast. The Council controlled maybe 30% of known space. There were entire regions marked as unexplored or abandoned, ancient ruins left by extinct civilizations, dead systems with no apparent value. What if humanity didn't really leave? Kane called his senior staff to a meeting. Around the table sat the best military minds of their generation. General Park, the strategic genius who had won the border wars. Colonel Smith, the intelligence expert who had infiltrated 3 alien governments. Commander Lee, the engineer who had revolutionized human ship design. "Gentlemen," Kane began, "we have a choice. We can accept exile and retreat to Earth like beaten dogs, or we can disappear entirely and build something new." He activated the holographic display, showing a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy. Red zones marked Council territory. Blue zones showed human colonies that would soon be abandoned, but scattered throughout were vast areas of empty gray. "What are you suggesting, Admiral?" asked General Park. "We fake our evacuation," Kane said. "Load the colony ships with volunteers and essential personnel. Send them to Earth with great fanfare. Let the Council think we're broken and defeated. Meanwhile, we secretly relocate our real populations to hidden worlds in unexplored space." Colonel Smith leaned forward, interested. "It would take incredible coordination. New identities, false records, dummy corporations to hide our activities. And time," added Commander Lee. "We'd need decades to build proper infrastructure in secret." Kane nodded. "Which is why we start now. Some of our colonies are already in remote locations. We simply remove them from all official records. As far as the galaxy knows, those worlds were evacuated like all the others. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. They were talking about the greatest deception in galactic history, an entire species vanishing while secretly spreading across the stars. The Council wants humanity gone, Kane continued. Fine. Humanity will disappear. But in 50 years, when they realize their mistake, we'll be stronger than ever. Hidden, prepared and ready to reclaim our place among the stars. General Park smiled grimly. When do we begin? Kane looked around the table at his trusted officers. These men would help him build humanity's greatest secret, a shadow empire that would grow in darkness while the galaxy forgot they ever existed. We begin immediately. 25 years had passed since the exile. The galaxy had indeed forgotten about humanity. Earth remained isolated in its single star system, appearing to struggle with resource shortages and technological stagnation. The Council's monitoring stations reported exactly what they expected to see: a broken species slowly fading into irrelevance. They had no idea about Ghost Station. Deep in the Void Nebula, where sensor readings became unreliable and navigation was nearly impossible, humanity had built their first secret stronghold. What started as a small mining facility had grown into a massive military complex, completely invisible to the outside galaxy. Captain Blake walked through the station's main corridor, still amazed by what they had accomplished. The walls hummed, with advanced technology, much of it beyond anything the Council possessed. Human engineers, free from the restrictions of galactic law, had made incredible breakthroughs in the past 2 decades. Sir, Admiral Kane is requesting your presence in the war room, announced Lieutenant Gray, falling into step beside him. Blake nodded. The old admiral was over 70 now, but his mind remained as sharp as ever. He had become the unofficial leader of what they called the Shadow Fleet, humanity's hidden military force that officially didn't exist. The war room buzzed with activity. Holographic displays showed star maps covered in coded symbols. Red dots marked Council patrol routes. Green dots showed human settlements that had supposedly been abandoned decades ago. Blue dots indicated new worlds where human colonists worked, in complete secrecy. Captain Blake, Kane greeted him. The Admiral looked tired but determined. We have a situation developing in Sector 7. The main display zoomed in on a remote star system. 2 planets orbited a dim red star, both appearing lifeless on standard scans. But Blake knew better. Those worlds housed nearly 3 million humans, in underground cities mining rare metals that powered their secret fleet. Council ships? Blake asked. A science expedition, replied Colonel Davis, Kane's new intelligence chief. They're investigating unusual energy readings. If they get too close to our mining operations. Blake studied the tactical display. 3 council vessels, 2 research ships, and 1 military escort. Standard crew complement would be around 400 aliens total. Against them, humanity could deploy forces that would shock the galaxy if they knew the truth. What are our options? Blake asked. Kane gestured to the star map. We could relocate the colonists, abandon the mining operation. It would set us back years, but we'd remain hidden. Or, Blake sensed there was another choice. We could make them disappear, Kane said quietly. Pirates attack ships in that region regularly. 3 more vessels lost to raiders wouldn't raise suspicions. The room fell silent. For 25 years, humanity had remained hidden through careful planning and strategic deception. They had never directly confronted Council forces. This would be crossing a line. Commander Torres, their chief engineer, spoke up. Sir, there's a third option. We could disable their ships, erase their memory data, and make them think they found nothing worth investigating. Blake raised an eyebrow. Is that possible? We've developed new neural technology, Torres explained, based on research from the abandoned phantom worlds. We can selectively edit short-term memories, make the experience feel like a routine scientific survey that found empty planets. Kane considered this. How close would we need to get? Our stealth ships could handle it, Blake said. The Phantom class vessels are still undetectable by Council sensors. These ships represented humanity's greatest technological achievement. Combining reverse-engineered alien technology with human innovation, They could operate completely invisible to any known detection system. The Council had no idea such vessels existed. Very well, Kane decided. Captain Blake, you'll lead the operation. Disable their ships, edit their memories, and send them on their way. But be prepared for the alternative if something goes wrong. Blake, understood. If the memory editing failed, if they were discovered, the Council ships would have to be destroyed. Humanity's secret could not be revealed. Not yet. As he prepared for the mission, Blake reflected on how much had changed. Earth's official fleet consisted of barely 100 aging vessels, designed to look primitive and outdated. But humanity's shadow fleet numbered in the thousands. Advanced warships, exploration vessels, massive construction platforms, all hidden in secret bases throughout unexplored space. They had colonies on 40 worlds now, each one officially non-existent. Underground cities, orbital habitats, asteroid mining facilities. The human population in hidden space actually exceeded Earth's numbers, but the galaxy believed humanity was dying out. The truth was the opposite. Humanity was growing stronger every year, building an empire in the shadows. Soon, very soon, they would be ready to reveal themselves, but not yet. Not until they were absolutely certain of victory. 40 years after the exile, the first crack appeared in humanity's perfect deception. Captain Blake, now Admiral Blake, stood in the command center of Titan Base, humanity's largest hidden facility. Built inside a rogue planet drifting between star systems, it housed over 10 million humans and served as the nerve center of their shadow empire. The crisis had started 3 days ago when a Council patrol stumbled upon wreckage from an old human transport. The ship had been destroyed decades earlier during the evacuation, but its emergency beacon had finally activated after years of solar radiation damage. The beacon's transmission contained colony manifests, reported Director Wells, head of human intelligence. It shows populations for worlds that were supposedly evacuated completely. Blake studied the tactical display. Council investigative teams were already heading toward 5 different star systems, following up on the beacon's data. If they found evidence of continued human presence, the entire Shadow Empire would be exposed. How long before they reach the first system? Blake asked. 18 hours, Wells replied. The Preston colony in the Outer Arm will be their first stop. Blake knew Preston well. Officially abandoned 38 years ago, it actually housed 2.8 million humans in vast underground complexes. They had been careful to make the surface appear lifeless, but a determined investigation would find the truth. Evacuation status, Blake inquired. Impossible, said General Hayes, their military commander. We're talking about relocating millions of people from 5 different worlds. It would take months, and the Council ships will be there in hours. Blake turned to Admiral Kane, now in his 80s but still serving as humanity's strategic leader. The old man's eyes held the weight of 4 decades of secrets. The time for hiding is ending, Kane said quietly. We always knew this day might come. Sir, Blake replied, we're not ready for full disclosure. Our fleet is strong, but the Council still outnumbers us significantly, Kane nodded. Which is why we won't reveal everything. We'll show them just enough to survive this crisis. He activated the main holographic display, showing the positions of human forces throughout the galaxy. Red symbols marked their secret fleets. Blue symbols showed hidden colonies. Green symbols indicated advanced research facilities. We reveal the Preston colony, Kane decided. We make it look like our only remaining secret settlement. A small group of humans who refuse to leave and have been living in isolation. Blake understood the strategy. And if they investigate further? We defend Preston with a small fleet. Kane continued. Ships that appear to be all we have left. Let them think they've discovered humanity's last desperate stand. Director Wells looked concerned. That's incredibly risky, sir. If they decide to eliminate Preston, then we show them our real strength, Kane said grimly, but only if absolutely necessary. The next 18 hours passed in frantic preparation. A small fleet of 12 human vessels, deliberately designed to look outdated and desperate, took position around Preston Colony. Meanwhile, the real Shadow Fleet remained hidden, ready to intervene if needed. Admiral Blake commanded the operation from his flagship, the Phoenix. To Council sensors, it would appear to be an old, refitted cargo vessel. In reality, it carried more firepower than most Council battleships. Council ships dropping out of hyperspace, reported Lieutenant Commander Park. 3 vessels, 2 destroyers, and 1 exploration cruiser. Blake watched as the alien ships approached Preston's star system. The lead destroyer immediately began broadcasting surrender demands. Unknown human vessels, you are in violation of the Exiled decree. Surrender immediately or face destruction. Blake opened a communication channel. This is Admiral Blake of the Human Colonial Defense Force. We have committed no crimes against the Council. This is our ancestral territory. The Council commander's image appeared on screen. A reptilian saurian with cold, calculating eyes. I am Fleet Commander Voss. By order of the Galactic Council, all humans were expelled from this region 40 years ago. Some of us never left, Blake replied. We have lived quietly on Preston, bothering no one. We ask only to be left in peace. Commander Voss's expression showed no mercy. The Exile decree contains no exceptions. You will evacuate immediately or be removed by force. Blake let calculated anger enter his voice. This is our home. We will defend it. The Council ships moved into attack formation. Blake gave the order, and the human vessels responded. What followed was a carefully choreographed battle designed to look like desperate humans fighting with inferior equipment. The Phoenix took simulated damage, her shields flickering convincingly. 2 human ships appeared to be destroyed, their crews secretly teleported to safety moments before the detonations. But slowly, impossibly, the human ships began to gain the upper hand. Their weapons, supposedly outdated, proved surprisingly effective. Their tactics showed signs of advanced training. Commander Voss watched in growing alarm as his superior force struggled against what should have been an easy victory. The battle for Preston Colony lasted 6 hours. When it ended, 2 Council ships drifted powerless in space while the third limped away to report impossible news to the Galactic Council. Fleet Commander Voss found himself prisoner aboard the Phoenix, staring in disbelief at technology that shouldn't exist. The human ship's interior revealed advanced systems decades beyond anything in Council space. This is impossible, Voss muttered, as Admiral Blake led him through the command deck. Our intelligence reports showed humanity's technology declining for 40 years. Blake smiled grimly. Your intelligence was designed to see exactly what we wanted it to see. They entered a briefing room where holographic displays showed the true scope of humanity's shadow empire. Voss's reptilian eyes widened as he saw star maps marking hundreds of human settlements, fleet positions indicating thousands of ships, and research facilities that had clearly been advancing human technology far beyond galactic standards. 43 star systems, Blake explained. 78 inhabited worlds. A population of over 400 million humans who officially don't exist. Voss slumped in his chair. The Council will never believe this. Humanity was broken, defeated, reduced to a single world. Humanity was angry, Blake corrected. We were exiled unjustly, branded as too dangerous for civilized society. So we became exactly what you feared, but in secret. Admiral Kane entered the briefing room, moving slowly but with undimmed authority. At 85, he had lived to see his impossible dream become reality. Commander Voss, Kane greeted their prisoner. I trust Admiral Blake has been informative. Voss stared at the elderly human. You were at the original exile hearing. I remember your speech. Kane nodded. I told the Council it was making a mistake. Now, 40 years later, you're about to discover just how big that mistake was. The holographic display shifted, showing fleet movements throughout the galaxy. Blue markers indicated human forces moving into position around key Council worlds. The scope was staggering. Humanity had somehow deployed military assets across hundreds of star systems without detection. What do you want? Voss asked. Justice, Kane replied simply. Humanity's restoration to the galactic community, with full recognition of our territorial claims and technological achievements. The Council will never agree to that. Voss protested. You've grown too powerful. They'll see you as an even greater threat now. Kane's expression hardened. Then they'll face the consequences of their 40-year mistake. Blake activated another display, showing real-time communications intercepts from Council space. Reports were flooding in from across the galaxy. Mysterious ship sightings, unexplained technological signatures, evidence of massive human activity that shouldn't exist. We've spent 4 decades preparing for this moment, Blake explained. Every Council world is now within range of our hidden fleets. Every major trade route is monitored by our stealth vessels. Every military installation has been mapped and analyzed. Voss realized the magnitude of what he was seeing. Humanity hadn't just survived their exile. They had used it to build the largest intelligence and military network in galactic history. You're planning an invasion, he whispered. We're planning to reclaim our rightful place, Kane corrected. Whether that requires force depends entirely on the Council's response to our demands. A communication alert sounded. Lieutenant Commander, Park's voice came through the intercom. Admiral, we're receiving a priority transmission from the Galactic Council. Speaker Vex is requesting immediate communication with Commander Voss. Kane nodded to Blake, who activated the communication system. The familiar blue-scaled face of Speaker Vex appeared on the main display, his expression showing barely controlled panic. Commander Voss, report your status immediately. We're receiving impossible readings from throughout Council space. Voss looked at Kane, who gestured for him to respond freely. Speaker Vex, Voss began carefully. I am aboard a human vessel. The situation is complex. Human vessel? Vex's voice rose in pitch. Our reports indicated primitive ships with outdated technology. The reports were wrong, Voss replied. Humanity has been concealing their true capabilities for decades. Their technology surpasses our own by a significant margin. Kane stepped into view of the communication array. Speaker Vex's eyes widened in recognition. Admiral Kane, Vex said slowly, you should be dead. Reports of humanity's demise have been greatly exaggerated, Kane replied. We need to talk, Speaker Vex. The galaxy has changed in ways you cannot imagine. The display showed Vex conferring with other Council members off-screen. When he returned, his expression had shifted from panic to grim calculation. What are your terms, he asked. Kane smiled. After 40 years of patience, humanity was finally ready to step out of the shadows. Complete restoration of human rights and territories, Kane began. Recognition of our technological sovereignty, and representation on the Council proportional to our actual population and capabilities. And if we refuse, Kane's smile faded, then you'll discover what happens when you make an enemy of humanity. 6 months after the revelation at Preston Colony, the galaxy had been transformed forever. Admiral Blake stood on the observation deck of Unity Station, humanity's new diplomatic headquarters. Through the massive transparent aluminum windows, he could see ships from dozens of species docking at the facility's numerous ports. The station itself was a marvel of human engineering, a massive structure that demonstrated the technological heights humanity had reached during their exile. The Galactic Council had been disbanded 3 months ago. In its place, the Galactic Assembly represented over 200 species, with humanity holding a permanent seat on the ruling council, alongside the Altari, the Hive Collective, and the Treefolk Commonwealth. Admiral, called Director Wells, approaching with a datapad. The latest integration reports from the outer territories. Blake reviewed the information. 17 species had requested human technological assistance in the past month alone. The advanced systems humanity had developed in secret were revolutionizing galactic civilization. Medical technology that could heal injuries thought permanent. Energy systems that made space travel safer and faster. Agricultural techniques that could turn barren worlds into garden paradises. How are the Altari adapting to the new reality? Blake asked. Wells smiled. Ambassador Rix has been surprisingly cooperative. It turns out that discovering humanity's true capabilities was less frightening than they expected. They're more interested in trade agreements than military confrontations. Blake nodded. The revelation of humanity's shadow empire had initially caused panic throughout Council space. Many species had expected immediate human retaliation for the exile. Instead, humanity had offered partnership and technological exchange. Admiral Kane, now retired but still serving as an advisor, had been brilliant in his approach. Rather than seeking revenge, he had positioned humanity as the galaxy's protector, a species that had learned hard lessons about survival and was now ready to share those lessons with others. "Sir," Wells continued, "we're also receiving reports from the exploration fleets. The new long-range vessels have identified 47 potentially habitable worlds in the previously unexplored sectors." Blake was impressed, but not surprised. Human technology had advanced incredibly during the exile years. Their ships could now travel distances that would have taken Council vessels months to cover. Their sensors could detect planetary systems from light years away. "Any signs of intelligent life?" Blake asked. "3 systems show promising indications," Wells replied. "Admiral Chen's expedition is investigating a series of artificial structures around a binary star system in Sector 12. Blake made a mental note to review those reports later. Humanity's approach to first contact had evolved significantly since their own introduction to galactic society. They now emphasized caution, respect, and gradual integration, rather than the somewhat aggressive expansion that had led to their original exile. A soft chime indicated an incoming priority communication. Blake activated his personal display to see Admiral Kane's familiar face. "Blake," Kane greeted him. "I wanted to update you on the memorial project." Blake nodded solemnly. Throughout human space, monuments were being constructed to honor the millions of humans who had lived and died in secret during the exile years. These people had sacrificed normal lives to build humanity's hidden empire, and their contributions would never be forgotten. "The Earth Memorial will be completed next month," Kane continued. "We'll finally be able to tell the true story of what happened during the exile years. It was a story of incredible sacrifice and determination. Entire generations of humans had lived their lives in secret, unable to communicate with their families on Earth, unable to reveal their existence to the galaxy. They had worked in hidden mines, built secret cities, and raised children who officially didn't exist. The President wants to declare a new galactic holiday," Kane added. "Unity Day, commemorating not just humanity's restoration but the beginning of true galactic cooperation." Blake approved of the idea. The new galactic order wasn't just about human advancement. It was about creating a more just and cooperative interstellar civilization. A young officer approached Blake's position. "Admiral, we're receiving a delegation from the Rim territories. 12 species requesting assistance with a pirate problem that's been plaguing their trade routes." Blake smiled. This was exactly the kind of challenge humanity was now positioned to address. Their hidden fleets, developed for defense during the exile, were now being used to protect smaller species and maintain galactic peace. "Prepare a response fleet," Blake ordered. "Include both human and allied vessels. Let's show them what true cooperation looks like." As the officer hurried away to carry out his orders, Blake reflected on the incredible journey humanity had taken. From exile and disgrace to becoming one of the galaxy's leading powers in just 40 years. Admiral Kane had been right all those decades ago. The Council's decision to exile humanity had indeed been a mistake, not because humans were harmless, but because making an enemy of such a determined and innovative species had been catastrophically short-sighted. Now, instead of enemies, humanity had become the galaxy's unexpected saviors, and the greatest human empire in history continued to grow among the stars.